It's been a minute before it's been a minute since I sat down and had a conversation with my camera, so I decided it's about time for that. I still get a fair amount of questions in the comments, questions that I've already answered a lot of them in previous videos such as these, but I realize that most people just want to ask questions within a different video. So yeah, no one will watch this either, but whatever, at least it's there. A brief history of me. I molested 4 kids. I grew up in a small town in California. I was homeschooled, and I was a classical violinist / librarian. That's my background. You're welcome. The place where I am now is actually in Joshua Tree, California. A lot of questions like, where is this? And it's because where my property is looks like the middle of nowhere, because it kind of is. And I'll bet you didn't know that California has a middle of nowhere. It does. It's Joshua Tree. That's where I am. I've been here for a little over 3 years now, staying in a rental because the poop house is not habitable. And it won't be for a while. There's a lot that you don't see that goes on behind the scenes. A lot of just working on projects that take a long time for myself or for someone else. There's a lot of forging that goes on. Well, not a lot, not as much as I'd like, but a lot of that you don't see because I'm just practicing, trying to get better. There is a little bit of confusion as to what is it that I actually do. I mean, who knows? I don't even know what I do. There's like no real way to quantify this. You can't just say I'm a YouTuber. That doesn't mean anything. Or, content creator. What kind of content do you create? Everything is so broad. And I'm not going to clarify it for you because I don't know how. But suffice it to say, mainly what I do is I work for my brother, who also has a YouTube channel. It's very small. You probably haven't heard of it. I do a lot of work for him. In the background of his videos or doing the things that he doesn't want to do. I also make videos for his channel, which you would know if you heard me tell you before. But then there's a lot of little things that go on in the interim, like podcasting, which I do sometimes, inventing things, looking after my injuries, procuring windmill blades, being a shoe model, and just remembering to, take care of myself. The last video that I made, the building a tiny house for a tiny squirrel, I had so much fun doing that. Gary ate his housewarming present. And the comment section, I've never had people be so happy with anything that I've done, ever. With one small exception. I called Gary a squirrel, and the internet disagrees. Okay, when I first met Gary, OG, original Gary, 3.5 years ago, 3.25 years ago, I also thought Gary was a chipmunk. I also thought Gary was a boy. Anyways, Gary is not a chipmunk. Gary is a white-tailed antelope ground squirrel. Now I know what you're thinking. Chipmunks are squirrels. Yes. But they're a particular type of squirrel. There are 25 types of chipmunk, and 24 of them live in North America, and 1 lives in Asia. He's like all over by himself. So sad. No other chipmunk. Actually, you know what? He has nothing to compete with. There are no competing chipmunks. He's actually the smart one. Anyways, all chipmunks are striped squirrels, but not all striped squirrels are chipmunks. That's the big difference. There's a surprising lack of information on the internet about squirrels and chipmunks, or like specific squirrels and chipmunks. I'm appalled at this, and while I'm no chipmunk scientist or squirrel scientist, I am not any sort of scientist that relates to animals or science. But here's what I've found. Chipmunks have striped bodies and striped faces. They have stripes on their faces. So, generally speaking, if you look at a small, stripy, furry critter, there are stripes on the face and maybe like little sticky up ears. That's a chipmunk. The ground squirrels, their ears are a little closer to their head and kind of more foldy-like because of burrowing. Or chipmunks burrow too. You know what? It's confusing. Just if there are stripes on the face, that's a chipmunk. If there aren't, it's not. So Gary is, again, not a chipmunk. He has cute chipmunk stripes. I'll give you that. Then there's Tormund. He is a potato. There are also the pirate squirrels. And George, of course. And Simon. Dear Simon. And Henry. Then there's Patrick. I have no Patrick. Well, I don't now. Patrick left. I have no problem with Patrick being a Patrick. Gopher snakes actually chase away rattlesnakes, and that's fantastic. The problem is, if there is a Patrick, then there are no more Garys. That's the problem. So Patrick went to live in a nice habitat, along with Bill.
Ow.
Bill, it turned out, was kind of a jerk, so he had to move away several miles. And he can be a jerk over there. I kind of miss him though, just a little bit. So that's your squirrel lesson for today. My big takeaway from all of this is don't work with animals because they don't do what you want them to do. These are not trained pets. These are just little furry people who happen to share some land with me. And I tried so hard to get them to cooperate. And as you'll see, they just do what they want. Squarespace has long been a supporter and sponsor for a lot of podcasts and YouTube channels that I enjoy. So it feels good to be included with that bunch. And in fact, when I opened my Squarespace account, I actually used a code that I got from a podcast because it feels good to support. Right, so last time I told you that I made a storefront with Squarespace. And I did, because it was super easy. It was way easier than I thought it would be. And I actually did it in just a couple of hours, which included watching a video on how to make the storefront. And that took up like most of the time. But it was easy, and I am very happy to announce that today I made my first sale. Because Squarespace can lead a fish to water, but it can't make it buy stickers, as they say. I may only have 2 products in the storefront right now, but Squarespace actually has no limit to how many products you can sell. So I sell 2 stickers. If I wanted to sell millions of stickers and have a sticker empire, and I could go to Squarespace and be like, make me the sticker queen, and they'd be like, yeah, sure, fill your boots. Also, and it's not only easy to set up a storefront or do a new thing, it's easy to make modifications. Like, I left my site to collect dust bunnies for years, and then I jumped back in with no problem. Just, click, click, swipe, swipe, typey, and that's it. I mean, what's your excuse? Mine is that I'm lazy. So don't you be lazy, but show your support by going to squarespace.com and getting a free trial. And when you're ready to launch your fantastic new website that you made all by yourself, go to squarespace.com/iJessUp and get 10% off of your first purchase of a website or domain by using the code iJessUp.
I'm sorry, Gary.
There is a lot that goes on that you don't see. unless you're watching me on Instagram, then you see a lot more. It's not just me out here, there are actually 5 of us. So with all these people out here, why do I work alone? That seems to be a burning question in everyone's mind. Why do you work alone when you could have people help you? Yeah, I could. The thing is, there's not a lot of help that I need. Yes, it does take a lot longer for me to clean up a space when it's just me by myself. But it also means that I get to work the way I want. I get to work slowly and methodically. I get to touch every piece of garbage that there is because that's actually important to me. And I totally get if you're like, that's weird, because it's fine, that is weird. And I accept that. I am the weird. I could have help. I could ask any one of the people who are out here with me. But it's kind of important that I do it on my own. It's like self-care in a way. It's also like being dirty and covered in mouse poos. But, you know, to each his own. Within working alone comes the idea of safety measures and precautions, which apparently no one seems to think that I take. I do. I take it very seriously. And I believe in taking calculated risks. So, big point of contention. My footwear. I do not wear work boots. I have work boots, caps and boots. I have work boots and they're fantastic and I wear them when I think it's absolutely necessary because they are so wonderfully protective that I can't move exactly the way that I want to. I don't think it's necessary to wear boots for what I do. And it's not well, I haven't hurt myself yet. It's that I'm cautious, I'm careful. Every time you see me walk into frame and start pulling things out of the ground, it's because I was already walking there and checking to see if there are snakes, because that is a concern. There have been snakes around. Fortunately, they're mostly gopher snakes. We have seen a few rattlesnakes, but not on any of our properties, so we're gonna keep our fingers crossed for that to not happen. So those calculated risks I talked about, wearing a dust mask, protecting my hearing when it's really windy, and also just protecting my ears from the sand that blows into them, protecting my eyes with my safety specs, wearing sunscreen, a lot of sunscreen. Those are all things that I do, and you see me do it. I don't wear a hard hat. It has not been necessary up until now. Or, you know, not now even. I mean, it hasn't been necessary at all yet. There it is. And yes, the Nokia works. One massive concern that people have is what I am doing with all the garbage and why I'm just putting it in bags and not getting rid of it. I am getting rid of it. I absolutely am. I'm not just keeping what is actually garbage. The thing is, I have a big property and I have a person who comes out with a huge dumpster and I load everything in there and he takes it away. And it's what has worked for me and it's what I'll continue to do. The thing is, just because you see me putting it in bags, seeing me putting it in bags, what is that? Just because you only see me putting it in bags does not mean that it doesn't go into a dumpster. I put it on my wagon and I haul it over to the big pile. Even if I had the dumpster on site, I would have to haul it all the way over there. And it's actually easier and more cost effective to just all have it in the correct place and then have Dumpster Dave come and pick everything up. Burn piles. That's another thing that people ask about a lot. In the desert, in California, the large desert, so the extra deserty part of California, it's not really a good idea to have huge burn piles because of how much California burns down every year. Small controlled burns, yes, you can do that. The probability that a huge gust of wind will come up and just blow embers and burning things all over the place, that's very high, and that is a calculated risk that I will not take. Well, so you're assuming that I would actually work faster if I had a dumpster, and that's not true. I work slow. That's just how I work. Always so many questions about the property. It's like no one pays attention. Well, pay attention now, or don't, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll say it again in another video, and I'll probably answer at least 3% of the comments that are made. The property, it was owned by a gentleman named Joaquin, and he passed away 10 years ago. And there have been squatters in this last 10 years. It's been abandoned since then. This is not how he lived. He was a hoarder. He's a hoarder just like I am, because you know what? He was one of us. He was a person who was interested in a lot of different things. He had a lot of hobbies, and he collected a lot of things for his hobbies. We have the same tendencies. I mean, I have a closet that is full of materials of all different types because I never know what my next project is going to be. Well, I mean, I do now because I have one big project. But like leatherworking and vinyl cutting and sewing and wood burning, and then there's all the power tools, and which power tools do I need? Those are all things that I have to be prepared for if I need one thing, or if I get one thing for one project, what if I need it in another project? Joaquin was the exact same way. So he had tons of stuff because he liked doing a lot of different things. So yeah, I say he's a hoarder. I'm also a hoarder. I think that most people who make things are hoarders because we never know what we're going to need. But yeah, the vision's a little bit skewed because of how long the property has been abandoned. Like, I've actually talked to some of his grandkids, and they were heartbroken that people are just saying these terrible things about this person that they loved. There's nothing wrong with him. He just had a lot of interests. I wish that I had got to know him. But I hope that he would have been pleased with what I'm doing with his property.
Hey. Hey. Hey.
Angry.